I promise you, I will not let you down.
The trucks parked outside illegally should move.
Canada's Conservatives will meet our Paris climate commitment
Enough with the woke. Sorry, Mr. Speaker, I take that back.
to champion our conservative principles.
We are the party of law and order.
To call in the auditors.
We haven't yet decided whether we're going to call for the government to impose a mandatory test or vaccination.
And we will win the next election. Canada must not ignore the reality of climate change.
Well, what they needed is vaccines. Yeah. That was the one job he had.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 2 of Controlled Opposition. I am Greg Wycliffe, and of course, our very special guest host, the one and only Jeremy Mackenzie, straight from the log pile. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, man. How are you? How are you making out?
I'm doing well. You know, last episode, we covered so many important topics. We kind of went at this topic of fake opposition or controlled opposition, and I thought we covered a lot of great themes, specifically for the Conservative Party of Canada. You know, what do they talk about versus what do they not talk about? And also the very alarming pattern we're seeing, the most important one I think that we're going to revisit tonight, is how they refuse to get morally outraged about certain things that really deserve people to be morally outraged about. But yesterday I was at the Jordan Peterson protest, and as we all know, Pierre Poilievre made a video standing up for Jordan Peterson. And it was great to see people out there, you know, standing up for freedom of speech, and Jordan Peterson, who was being muzzled by the College of Psychologists for having the wrong political opinion. But at the same time, in the back of my head, and at the tip of everyone's tongues, by the way, at that protest as well, was, well, why didn't Pierre Poilievre stand up for the doctors who got their licenses taken away, the nurses who are still not back to work, and the many, many other people like yourself who have been persecuted for your political opinion? So we're going to try to answer that question. Why didn't Pierre Poilievre stand up for all these other Canadians? What comes to mind for you first and foremost? How are we going to answer this question, Jeremy?
Votes. You know, you said it's, moral outrage. You have to have strong moral convictions in the first place to be outraged about. So I suppose having a deficiency of that would, you know, create kind of a vacuum as to where people would normally respond, and, you know, some kind of, you know, passionate, righteous fury at some kind of wrong being committed. They kind of just, you know, instead, because it doesn't concern them. As far as this situation goes, it's true. It's funny. It's convenient. You know, it's not that it isn't a free speech issue for them, because if that were the case, where are they? Where have they been on all of these censored, suppressed, and silenced doctors and expert professionals from all kinds of fields all over the nation? The paramedics, police officers, hospital staff, educators. It doesn't matter. They were all silenced and pushed away. But now all of a sudden we care about free speech. Well, it looks to me like you only care about free speech that is congruent with your electoral platform. And if Mr. Peterson had been very, you know, being silent for his outspoken opinion on, say, mass migration, or perhaps the United Nations, or something like this, I feel like the odds of the Conservative Party's opposition participating in his defense would be significantly diminished.
Absolutely. That's a great point, because really it comes back to this disappearing issue of the vaccines, the disappearing issue of the restrictions, the disappearing issue of how a lot of these rules and regulations that are being imposed upon Canadian society, which is happening across the world in various different ways, does not seem to be something that the Conservative Party of Canada wants to talk about, even though it seems to be the cause of so much despair and authoritarian behavior coming from the current Trudeau regime.
The sudden elephant in the room.
Yes, which nobody seems to want to talk about, because the media, right? This comes back to the strategy argument that people will say. And you know what? I'll just actually bring it up on screen here as well. So Dina commented on our last episode saying Pierre and his team are playing it smart right now. They are distancing themselves from the topic because the findings from the commission aren't fully out yet, and all the stupid people who listen to the CBC would have a field day with him and the attacks which could damage his chances of winning in the next election. I rather Poilievre than Trudeau any day. And then just to echo that, someone else said, don't forget, Pierre Poilievre has to speak to liberals as well. Still lots of easy to trigger liberals out there. He is being careful. So this whole cautious argument that we've heard many, many times before.
What are you afraid of? What's the problem? Because they're not too concerned with upsetting us.
No, not at all.
No issue at all.
Not whatsoever. And this comment gives the excuse of they're playing it smart right now because the Emergencies Act inquiry is coming out later. I've heard many arguments like that. Oh, well, once Pierre Poilievre is the leader of the opposition party, that's when he's going to be more vocal. No. Once he's the leader of the country and prime minister, that's when he's going to be more vocal. No. Only once the inquiry is done, that's when he's going to be more vocal. Just pushing it off more and more, right?
I've kind of echoed a little bit of this on my podcast, I think last night, or I can't remember when, that whenever the state wants something to happen, it must be done immediately. Whenever there's something that has to be addressed or looked at, it needs to happen yesterday. When the public's, there's an inquiry or something, well, we'll see how it goes. It's going to be a few years, there's paperwork involved, and we'll wait until we can push that off until passions have died down and people don't really care anymore. And that's kind of the strategy. They just delay until no one really cares anymore, and it's the 24-hour news cycle. People will be outraged about something else tomorrow, so we'll just kind of push it off.
And again, last episode, we noticed a pattern between the fake accountability of the news media and the fake opposition of this Conservative Party. And very similarly to that, the news cycle or the opposition cycle happens the same way, where they'll be talking about something came out in the Washington Post, I think 2 months ago, saying, oh, did you know if you're healthier, you'll have a better chance against COVID? And that came out in 2022. We were saying that in 2020, getting called lunatics, conspiracy theorists, dangerous people for saying the exact same thing.
And paying the price for it, paying the consequences. See, this current crop of supposed, opposition leaders, these supposedly, we're fighting for you. They remind me of guys, because I bring these examples up all the time because that's my whole life. That's what I did. I did nearly 15 years in the military, and there was guys in there that would go to things like, paratrooper courses or special forces selections and so on, and find out this sucks. This is very difficult, and I don't like this. So they like the idea of being something, but they don't want to pay the price for it. So they like the idea. They want the image of being, I'm the opposition, I'm the rebel, I'm the resistance, but they don't want to pay the price that comes with that. They don't want to have the hit pieces that, look what's been done. Look what's happened to, Mr. Sloan, Bernier, Hillier, all of these guys. Like, when you go out and that's part of the game, and they see that's what happens, and they're like, I want to just try to somehow maintain this facade of I'm your guy and I'm fighting for you, but I don't want to get wet. I don't want to go out in the rain, though. So if I could somehow have my cake and eat it too, that would be great. That's not how real life works. If you want to go out there and get dirty and fight, you're going to have to. You can't, hide on the bench and, make some YouTube videos here and there and be like, oh, see, I'm on your side and I've paid no price for it. I have no skin in the game and I'm risking nothing. That's how you know I'm sincere.
And this is their excuse for not standing up for us, right? I mean, it's because I don't want my job to be hard. I don't want to get called names by the media. It's like, well, people are suffering out here, especially the unvaccinated, especially people who are actually being vocal about what's happening in this country because you're not opposition party. And it really is. I'm noticing that the more we talk about this on this show, the more disgusted we're going to both become. I'm already noticing that.
That's my goal. I'm trying to just raise disgust levels to the maximum, and then that way maybe somebody will decide that something needs to be done finally. But
yeah, and like you said last week, it's okay to demand higher standards.
Yes, it is. I'll take disgust over apathy. That disgust is far more useful than apathy. As the Terminator once said, anger is more useful than despair. So he's right. He's an advanced cyborg from another dimension. He's definitely smarter than me.
Without a doubt. And the double standards, we call out the hypocrisy. We call out all the stuff that the liberals do all the time. They're so dishonest. It's so slanted. But the double standards are really egregious. It's gotten to the point where they're so normal, but it really is so unacceptable. If a protester got trampled by a police horse at a Black Lives Matter protest, we would never hear the end of it. We would never hear the end of it. The mainstream media would go off white supremacy, patriarchy, evil police officers, racism, evil conservatives ad nauseum. Same way that they still sort of refer way back to like Harper and how he muzzled scientists. Like that still comes up to this day.
It's just not real leadership, because real leadership is putting yourself out there in harm's way for the benefit of, like, you just do what you got to do. And they see a situation like that and they go, well, you know, with these the group chats of the RCMP celebrating, oh, it was so great, I love smashing those people, I can't wait to do more of it. They had nothing to say about that, or the acts themselves, the behavior after the fact, or the behavior itself, because they're like, well, I don't want to get tied to this and have people say this or think that, so I'm just going to stand back and not. It's wrong. This is a wrong. This is like Stasi level activity where you have police officers investigating people for the ideologies, bank accounts being frozen, people being brutally, violently beaten in the street by state police. This is not okay. This is not okay. I don't care what your strategy is. If your strategy is to permit evil acts to go unchallenged because you're thinking about winning an election, you're not a leader. You're a businessman.
And the left is so good at blowing these moral issues out of the water. They create so much theater, so much, talking points around it. And guess what? It works, and it's powerful, and it connects with people on an emotional level, not some sort of analytical financial argument level, on an emotional level. And when we have this egregious things going on, everything you just listed, it's making my blood pump a lot just talking about it.
And they use this like pernicious cloud of shame and guilt. That's basically their primary when you want to say you have like a moral issue like that. Like, why are the police beating unarmed people in the street? And we can't. They always shift the conversation away to like how you're a bad person for thinking that, and you're bad. And how can you even say? Don't you? The poor people of Ottawa, they had to listen to honking and the victims and all this kind of stuff. You're bad. Shame on you. How dare you? This is an occupation. You're bad. Shame on you. How dare you? The Russians are probably involved. Shame on you. How dare? That's always their go-to move, and that works on people that have very little moral conviction. They don't really know where they stand, so they get confused, they get uncertain, and it just takes the wind out of your sails. But when you have people that have strong moral convictions and a good foundation on what's right and wrong, it just goes right. It's like water off a duck. Like, I keep talking. It means nothing to me. It doesn't change the fact of what happened. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. You're wrong, and I am never going to shut up about it. I don't care what names you call me. Big deal. The police are beating people in the street. Okay, that's the issue, not your perceived, victimhood, okay?
And we have a Conservative Party and Conservative Party supporters who are justifying the minimizing of this issue and saying, no, we need to talk about this. We can't talk about this or else we're going to get shamed.
And that's the greater issue. It's not just that isolated, like it happened in a vacuum, that issue, that situation with the RCMP in Ottawa. They lack the ability to go into issues like this where there's a clear right, like something really wrong has happened, and they politically, I don't know. They always back down. They don't have the guts to go to the, to use a hockey terminal, they don't go into the corners. They don't go into the hard areas where they're going to get a bloody nose and it's going to get nasty, and they don't have the stomach for it, and they back away, and the other side doesn't. They'll go right in there, and they have no shame. They will play dirty. They'll call you whatever name. They'll smear. They'll lie. They'll cheat. They don't care, and that's why they win. They're willing to go further. Then they'll go to these hard places, and they're not shy about it.
That is absolutely why they win. The left blows these moral issues out of the water, and the Conservatives are afraid to even touch it. This strategy of silence is minimizing, the suffering of everyday Canadians happening right now. During the pandemic, many people were suffering in silence because the mainstream media and our politicians were refusing to bring attention to this. And now the Conservative Party, with their epic strategy is saying, no, we need to talk about the suffering that you guys are experiencing because that's going to make us look bad.
Yeah, this is the strategy the last team ran as well. So I'm sure
and the team before that.
Yeah. So let's repeat the losing strategy again, but we've got Milhouse now, so that it should shake out somehow because he's got glasses, people like him.
Yeah, and really, I think the best thing that's going for the popularity of Pierre Poilievre is how awful Trudeau has become, how awful this country is becoming, right? Like that is, in a way, the biggest argument to vote for Pierre is how terrible things are getting, and that is not a good argument. to vote for somebody, how bad things are, right?
Yeah, I also don't like, and one of the comments there that you posted were people just kind of in this thought, and conservative strategists and stuff will say too, is like, well, we have to pander more, like they mentioned the liberal voters, we have to talk to them too. That's the only people they care to talk about and talk to. They don't care at all what everyone else's response is. It's how are the liberal base going to react? How's the liberal media going to react? We have to always, they're framing the playground that everybody gets to play in, and that's where it goes. And there's very little attention or cares thought paid to the other side of it and how these people think about it. It's all about what are they going to think and what are they going to say rather than what's right and wrong.
Absolutely. Someone said, Colleen, we got to have someone run the country. Choose the lesser of two evils. I'd rather have Pierre than Justin. And then Karen chimes in, less of two evils is still evil, though.
That's
Remember
exactly how playing the lesser of two evils is how we got here. So how do you think, where will we be in 10 more years doing this? And my father always says, I've heard him say this a couple of times. I'm so tired of voting people. I've been voting people out my entire life. Just once I would love to vote someone in.
Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? It almost seems like a dream. And I do want I do want to bring up this one comment, because it is painful to live in Canada right now, and this guy kind of speaks to that pain. Nice conversation, guys. This is from last episode. I like Poilievre. I know most politicians break their promises, and he may do the same. I'm 58 years old and know the game by now, but as usual, who the hell do you vote for? In Canadian politics, it's like trading one used car for another used car. People I know just want Trudeau to go and could care less who takes over. This is the reality in Canada. Not many choices. I will vote blue next election. I have no choice. I really love the used car analogy.
Do you really need another used car, though? There's something to be said for taking the power out of it. Like and then, they talk about the vote splitting and stuff, because I've voted PPC in the last couple elections. If that wasn't an option, I wouldn't have voted at all. Because I don't consent. These people don't represent me. We're not the same. I don't identify with what they're saying, their values, their behavior. So I'm not participating. That is me consenting, going, well, this is the best we can do. I choose to. I'm not participating because I don't believe in any of these candidates. I don't believe in any of these options. It's like, choose one terrible option or the other. I'm good. I'm good. At least that way, you can say this isn't. I didn't help, but you could. I tell people to look, just focus on yourself and your friends and your family and your immediate, the world you can affect and can help, because if you're getting too stressed out about this and spending too much time focused on this, you're going to drive yourself crazy, because it's not really, they're not listening to you, and that's the problem. They don't care. They care what the liberal media says. They care what their foreign-funded, unelected billionaire plutocrats around the world that set their policy for. They care what they think. That's why they go to these conferences around the world. There's not just all about the World Economic Forum. There's Davos happening this week. They have them there's 4 or 5, 6 of them a year. And there's a tremendous amount of foreign influence in this country, and they care much more about what that. I mean, someone like Bill Gates or George Soros, right, or Klaus Schwab has far more influence in this country than the citizens of this country, and that's a problem. That is a huge problem.
That is absolutely, you absolutely nailed it. And for people watching and asking the question, what is the answer, though, guys? What is the answer? Well, what we can try to change with this conversation, and by being more morally outraged about what's going on in this country, is we can put pressure on the Conservative Party to be beholden to the people, to fear the people. Because right now, this is the problem. We have a Conservative Party, we have an official opposition who is more beholden to the media, more fearful of the media, and all the money behind the scenes. That is the problem that we can try to solve. That is the solution, to try and put the pressure on the Conservative Party to fear the people once again. And you might say, oh, well, how do we do that? Well, the trucker convoy certainly accomplished something. And I think that the opposite of helping this situation is sitting on the couch and just having faith in PP. I'm just going to sit on the couch and wait to vote for Pierre Poilievre. Yeah.
It's resignation. It's surrender in a way. It's just this apathetic throwing your hands up. Well, I mean, I got to pick the blue guy because there's nothing left. Why don't you get some friends and send some? Why don't you go to blue guy's office and go, why in the hell aren't you doing anything? Why are you not talking about any of the things that are important? Who are you? What is going on here? Because they respond to these things, right? And it clearly they seem pretty weak, and they respond to shaming and guilt. So if you're going to shame and guilt someone into something, I would have no problem whatsoever, as a vicious old stock Canadian that still believes in the values this country was founded on, in shaming these people and guilting them on neglecting their duty to speak about issues like that. When the RCMP are trampling citizens in the streets, when the government is seizing bank accounts, when they're very aggressively pursuing censorship legislation, when they're, like them or not, it doesn't matter. Peterson, when they're taking prominent public figures and threatening to, well, maybe we're going to have to attack your medical license. He's not the only one, right? And it's not just him, just because he's a famous person. This has been happening for years. This has been, welcome to 2019, Jordan. Thanks for joining us. These are things that need to be confronted, and you're not. So the guilt and the shame of you to look away and look at your feet and stay quiet as really, really wrong, bad things are happening. Unforgivable.
When I first joined politics, I ran for the PPC in 2019. I went to this volunteer meetup, and this woman volunteer, it's really stuck with me what she said. I didn't understand it at the time, but she said, the problem is, in this battle between the left and the left has the right in this chokehold, on the ground chokehold, about to be tapped out. And the right wing still has this attitude of, oh, we just need to give them a hug. We still need to be sensitive to them, and we need to play fair, and we need to just have better ideas. We can't play dirty like they are. And it's like, we're about to get tapped out. The whole battle's about to end forever.
I've used similar metaphors too. It's like being in a cage, getting punched in the face into a broken and bloody nose while you're holding up a petition that you brought for why you shouldn't be fighting.
Yeah,
we're past that, guys. I mean, again, on moral grounds, the things these people have gotten away with, the scandal after scandal after scandal, and you still seem like it. Like this pisses Canadians. Again, pisses them off. It doesn't matter which if you're PPC people, or you're really very much in love with PP and all of that stuff. To see them standing shoulder to shoulder and making collaborative efforts, like we're all in this together. You got to go do the current thing and support because on all the major important issues, they're all very much aligned, and they look across the hall, look across the floor in Parliament, and they see their peers. They don't see enemy agents they see, well, they're just like me. They just play for the other team.
Yeah, and when it comes to the playing,
I don't see why. I didn't finish this thought. I don't see why why should you respect them, and why should you be polite to them? I mean, people's lives are being destroyed. We're not like this isn't a debate over should we have an extra holiday in June? Like should we put an extra day off? Like this is like people are dying. How many, the elephant in the room is just getting bigger and bigger. Government policy has been destroying this country for quite a while. And, suicides, record high, drug overdose, record high, violent crime, rising and going for gold. But make sure you're polite to the people that are knowingly doing this and getting rich off of it. I question your ability to lead and fight for people in the future if you don't even have the stones to show up to the fight in the first place, when you're just going to sit there and hide behind like, well, you gotta be nice. Well, as your nose is being stoved in, be nice about it.
As you're being crushed by a police horse. Because as we mentioned, this is a story that hardly even got covered in the legacy news media. We know that the playing field in the media is tilted in their favor. And our strategy...
Things they don't talk about. David Zegarak. Did we bring that up last time?
We did bring that up last time.
So there you go. I mean, that's a politically motivated terrorist attack on Canadian soil by a Canadian against other Canadians, in congruence with the things that are coming out of the mouths of the leaders of this country. And you're content to stand there and shake hands and smile like, it's just another day. We'll sort it out over the weekend. We'll come back to it. Well, tell that to the people that just got run over by a Jeep Patriot. And see if they feel upset about it. It's a miracle they're alive. Does anyone know their names? Does anyone care?
The tables are obviously tilted, and the strategy is, well, we just need to wait until we're in power, and then we can tilt the tables back or something. And it's like, no, we need to start tilting the tables now. And once again with the trucker convoy, we know that is possible. It's so enraging because this whole strategy from the opposition is, we're gonna wait to have bravery. We're going to wait to have conviction. We're going to wait till a later time to have that stuff. Then we'll fight for you. We're going to fight for you later when it's like more smart to do so.
There's a saying in the military community as well, is that you don't rise to the occasion, you sink to the level of your training. So if you're waiting for this moment where you're all of a sudden going to be this person that's going to save the day, you're going to be very disappointed. This only comes from, you know, a lifetime of, or a career of discipline and constantly fighting for the issues and going into the that's how you do it. You know, all of a sudden they're not just gonna oh wow, all of a sudden wow, they're incredible and they're all you know, doing all the right things at the last minute. They can't even do this. They can't even do the little things. What makes you think they'll do the big things? There's no reason. There's nothing to suggest they will. Nothing.
Yeah. And to extend the military analogies, I was speaking to Alex Cabana, who runs Patriot Propaganda podcast. After the podcast ended, he was talking. Yeah, great guy. He was talking about, I forget the sector of, it might have been, anyway, he said, you need action. You need to take action. That's part of, you know, that's very, very important to, I'm failing to remember what part of the military it was. I don't know if it was like tactics or something, but you know, you need to make a plan and execute that plan, because if you have inaction, then that, you know, you are going to let the enemy, you know, further impose on you or something.
Yeah, there's a quote. It's rattling around my brain somewhere, but essentially, doing nothing is sometimes the worst decision. A poorly executed plan can be far superior to nothing at all. Just doing nothing.
And we've already made the argument here that you know, we are complicit in this Conservative Party not standing up for us
because of apathy. Because people don't, you know, they're content. They accept what they see on TV. They accept what these people say and go, well, that's as good as we're gonna get. And that bothers me, because it's like this Canadian identity where it's like, just go along to get along. It is what it is. Just roll over and show your belly. What can you do? Rather than saying, hey, you son of a bitch, you know, get here. What are you saying? You know, like, we have the right, like, I'm pretty sure as a serious country, we have the right to demand high standards, you know, and these people are like, well, I don't want to have the smears and I don't want to get involved. The media will say that, then don't be a politician. Then don't be a public figure. Then, you know, it really is that simple. And it's gotten so bad, I'm sure you have this, before we forget about this, that Canadians now feel that they have to outsource leadership from another continent to speak to their values, because no one here will do it for them. Shameful.
That's absolutely right. Christine Anderson is an MP, member of European Parliament. And I'll play her viral clip here first and foremost. You guys probably saw this.
A prime minister who openly admires the Chinese basic dictatorship, who tramples on fundamental rights by persecuting and criminalizing his own citizens as terrorists just because they dared to stand up to his perverted concept of democracy, should not be allowed to speak in this house at all. Mr. Trudeau, you are a disgrace for any democracy. Please spare us your presence. Thank you.
And not to be, you know, that guy, but, you know, and good for her. A great, amazing, like, saying what everybody knows is true, saying what, you know, we're all thinking. Why does, first of all, a woman from Germany have to come here and do the men's job? That's not a dig at her. That is a slight against the men of this country, because, you know, you're not even wearing pants anymore, are you, boys? You know, we've got German women coming over here to say what none of you guys have the guts to say anymore. Pathetic.
What's going on? You know, calling Trudeau a disgrace to a democracy. Why is that so hard for Pierre Poilievre to say? Why is that so hard for any Conservative MP to say?
Yeah, and we know why, because you've got, you know, special, you know, turban guy will say, this is so divisive. This language has no place in Canadian. Shut up. You're just as bad. You know, the only reason you're there is because this guy's still in the way. Otherwise, they'd all be pointing at you. There might as well just be the same party, for God's sakes. I don't know why there even is, too. You know, it's there's nothing wrong with what she said. Everything she said is true. And the fact that it had come out of a member of European Parliament from Germany to say, you know, what should have come out of the mouth of the opposition leader of Canada is shameful.
Yeah, and she's coming here to Canada for her Canadian tour, 18th to 24th of February. Calgary, Toronto, Whitby, Montreal.
Yeah, I think she's given a seminar at the end. You can sign up and get a copy of her book she'll sign, Teaching Men How to Grow a Pair, I think.
So Pierre Poilievre, any other members of the Conservative Party, you might want to check this tour out. You know, it might be able to help you stand up for your country. Really would have hoped that you already knew how to do that, considering you're a sitting member of Parliament as the official opposition. But hey, it's never too late to learn, right? It's never too late to try and do the right thing.
It's never too late to make a public service announcement with all of them shaking hands and standing together, smiling, saying, we're all in this together. As you lose your job, your bank accounts are frozen, your kids are kicked out of school, and your elderly parents die behind a sheet of plastic in a building you can't go into because of your medical decisions. Congratulations, Canada.
Yeah, make sure we're all socially distanced, okay?
That's
but I do want to go into a comparison, if you will. And this is from the Toronto Star. Don't comment on frozen bank account claims until they are verified, Conservative MPs advised. This article essentially talks about, hey, we can't be spreading misinformation. We can't be saying things that aren't verified as fact. And let's compare that to, and this is just one example, as we all know. This is one from Rex Murphy. Will anyone apologize for falsely accusing truckers of attempted arson in Ottawa? So essentially, we have an establishment party, the Liberal Party. NDP was jumping in on this too, slamming the trucker convoy, all the flags, all of this. No fact checking, by the way. Right. No sort of follow up with any of these accusations.
So I mean, again, the point earlier where it's like you got to be polite and respectful, and it's supposed to be showing respect to the gravity of where you're. I mean, you're in the House of Commons. This is a Parliament building. This is where you're supposed to act like a grown up and this kind of stuff. So you don't try not to engage. Are they showing it the respect that it deserves when they gaslight Canadian citizens on this level? The government itself came out and said we're freezing bank accounts, and they did. And now they're saying, well, we don't know if it's true. I think you could take them at their word that it happened. I mean, they're the ones saying if a single person's account was frozen and seized, that is insane. That is Soviet-like level. Oh, are these people disagreeing with it? Seize their bank accounts. If it even happened to one person, that is crazy. And it, of course, was a lot more than one. And like you just pointed out, they have no problem lying. Oh, there's rapists all over the place, and there are arsonists, and there's all these truckers probably have guns. None of that was true. Did anybody apologize? No. Did anybody in the Conservative caucus raise the alarm about that? Nah, we're going to wait and see because it's strategy.
Strategy. Yes, that's the strategy always. Guys, this might be a slam dunk. We might be able to call them out for being authoritarian and totally undemocratic, but the media might attack me and stuff. Yeah, and back to the solution that we're presenting to our viewers. We have this Conservative Party who is beholden to this corrupt establishment, to these people who are comfortable spreading the misinformation, comfortable accusing us of terrorism while ignoring terrorism against people like freedom fighter protesters, convoy protesters. It's the more and more we talk about this, it's the Conservative Party, this opposition just simply seems complicit in what's happening in this country.
Well, and it reminds me of a clip I just saw recently, and her name is Ava something, very long Dutch name, cannot say it. I'm not even going to try. Another, leadership figure, blonde woman from Europe, has to stand up here and go, listen, guys, all they have really is their shaming and their guilting, their name calling, in this kind of thing. When that doesn't bother you anymore, when you decide, like, what do you got? You're going to call me names? I don't care. I don't care. That means we're not children. This has no effect on me. Then you're free to speak your mind and live your life. But we still have a opposition in this country that is really. We don't want to. Please don't call us names. Please don't say that we're racist. Please no. We're very sorry. We're sorry we ever. I'm so sorry I ever shook hands with so and so. You know what I mean? It's just weak, and it's written all over. You can smell it on them. You can tell it by looking at them. They'll fold like a wet paper bag when it gets hard. They can't even endure to have their called names. I mean, who cares what the media thinks? Your job is to speak directly to the people. That's who you're supposed to be speaking, for. That's who you're supposed to be leading. Just why is the media out of the no. We don't care what I don't care what you print. I don't care if you draw cartoons with me with horns in my head eating babies. It makes no doesn't make any. It's not going to change a single word that's going to come out of my mouth because I'm here for the people of this country. I'm not here to please you who lie constantly about me and try to destroy me. Why in hell's name would I ever care at all what you think about me? It's just weak. It's just weakness.
And that goes to what we said last episode, talking about how it seems so much of the conversation when it comes to politics and the opposition versus the liberals and everyone involved in the world of politics, it all exists in this weird Ottawa bubble that is beholden to the news media. And it is completely separate from the people of this country. You know, as you said last week, we need to be more like the left to win. It's not just being more like the left. It's not just that. It's we need to not stand up for Canadians. We need to, not stand up for freedom fighters who are being prosecuted in order to win. We need to not stand up for the vaccine injured. We need to not stand up for the unvaccinated being treated like second-class citizens. You know, what else do we need to not stand up for in order to win?
It's a cope, and it's something weak people do. It's compromising. It's like, we'll just be more like them so we can win. It's like, well, why don't you just join the party? If you're going to have a platform, if you're going to agree on so many things, if you're going to on really important things, why don't basically? And I like how my friend Ferry says this. It's like, well, the liberals are selling this. We'll say communism or something. The conservatives are like, well, we're going to do that too, but slower.
Right?
Why waste time? Why don't you just go over there and join them? Since you seem to have very little problem with a lot of what they're doing, and you really want to just talk about cosmetic issues and not really get into the nitty gritty. Why are you? What is the point in your existence if the values that are supposed to separate you from them are so easily sacrificed for media play? I mean, what does that say about the things you believe in? That they're you're willing to throw that away that easily? That's not a good sign, guys.
So, and I think we've really laid it all out here, but let's bring it back to the whole Jordan Peterson issue, because Jordan Peterson gave Pierre Poilievre and the Conservative Party this opportunity to say, you know what, we're going to look like these freedom fighters. We're going to look like the people standing up for all the things that make this country great. When in reality, they're standing up for one super famous clinical psychologist millionaire, while all of the other lesser known or unknown hardworking Canadians who are doctors, who probably some of them are psychologists as well, no name mentioned. And just think about how much harder the struggle is for these people. I met someone yesterday, a doctor who can't disclose who he is publicly, who hasn't been to work for a year and a half. And he's waiting on all these weird litigation things to happen because he's a physician. And there's a story there. There's a lot to get upset about there and to potentially, try to bring to the forefront as part of the opposition. And what if, again, if Peterson, what if say, let's pretend in an alternate universe, let's not Peterson, it's someone that's, not famous. And by the way, a lot of this reminds me, this is a pattern that I don't like. Peeps likes to show up like, oh, there's a hot button topic. Let me pop in here for a quick selfie. All right, I'm out. James Topp, comes to mind, for example. The Freedom Convoy comes to mind. Oh, okay, got the picture? All right, see you later, bud. And it's gone. If Peterson was someone that was less famous or something, has anyone mentioned anything about Pastor Pawlowski, for example? What if he was a very highly outspoken Christian theology professor? I mean, this country was founded on Christian values by Christian nations. It does say, "God keep our land," in the national anthem. What if his position was, I'm really against all of this trans stuff, and I really don't like the pride flags and all this because it's very offensive to my religion. I'm an Orthodox, I'm a, book following Christian, do you think he would show up then for free speech? Or do you think, I don't know if this is going to be good politically for me, so I'm going to ignore that one. Like they curate these causes and put them through some kind of political electability filter and then decide if they're going to show up and pretend to care about the things you actually do care about. It's gross. It's so transparent. And it's, again, I want leaders. I want men of character and, backbone and principles to run this country, because that's the only way anyone runs anything successfully. When you're willing to sacrifice and, compromise your beliefs to just, please people for the sake of pleasing them because, means to an end and so on, little by little, eventually you run out of things to sell. And, you wake up and look in the mirror and you're just like the guy you went to replace. There's going to be no difference between them and the Liberals. And when the Liberals ran their campaign to get elected, to replace the Harper Conservatives,
A lot of people they just had to get Harper out, remember? And they said all the right things and all these wonderful, they were going to eliminate we're going to change the first past the post system. We're going to have proportional representation. We're going to do this. And the people, did they clap? How much of that happened? That much, So that's what you get. And you get that because you have people that are willing to lie about principled things. If you have people that can play fast and loose with really important issues and principles like that matter, morality itself, if your morality will change depending on whichever way the CBC Twitter trends are going, no thanks, I'm out.
You just made the motion of a snake there, actually, if you didn't notice, slithering around the moral issues to what's convenient. Oh, here's a James Top thing over here. Oh, here's a convoy over here. Here's Jordan Peterson over there. Yeah, very, very slippery, very snaky. And I've said this in the past before. It's very true. The trajectory of Trudeau and his rise to getting elected kind of feels similar to Pierre's sort of popularity right now. He's saying all the right things. He's going to save the country from this horrible totalitarian situation that we're in. And that was the same language they were using back then, by the way, with Harper.
Exactly. And I'd also, they were the Freedom Party then, and look how that worked. Because I was no fan I did not like a lot of the things Harper was doing either, and I wanted him gone as well. So, I was younger and dumber, but, that is how it goes. But when so again, these are a lot of these big issues. You've got like the World Economic Forum to contend with, the United Nations, and you've got these foreign, unelected billionaire plutocrats and oligarchs everywhere making sure, they're setting our national, like these are big enemies to make, right? So if the prime minister is going to come in and I'm going to go to war with these people, figurative sense, with your think tanks and your hedge funds and your advisors and all, we're going to throw these guys out. We're going to do all that. These are big enemies to make, but you won't fight CBC. You won't fight the liberal establishment media. You won't fight newspapers. You can't handle that, but you're going to take on, the power players of the world that are carving this country up like a turkey. You just got to wait until you're in there, and then trust me, you promise you're going to deal with it then. You can't stand up for mom and pops, losing their stores and, all of the people just suddenly having problems, all of these kids, people getting thrown out of school, everything that's happened in the last few years. Nah, but I will fight the empire though. Trust me, when the time is right, I promise I will. I don't buy it.
Absolutely. And I want to leave people with the image. We're going to wrap it up here soon, but I want to leave people with the image. Like, folks, we're getting creamed out there in the whole culture war conversation. We are in the corner getting pummeled. We are on the floor getting pinned. We are, teeth are getting knocked out to the point where we're coping with
Joe Rogan's making reaction videos to what's happening in Canada. He's just, flying.
Yeah,
that's how badly we're getting beat up right now.
Oh my God, did you see that, Jamie? Yeah. Oh man, but
Jamie, play that back. His teeth flew right out of his head. Rewind that. I want to see that again.
Oh, and if you look at this, Jamie, he's coping right now. He's hoping he can just make it another round without being completely obliterated. It's like, no, it's time to fight back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you said, like we're getting beat up. We're and we are. And this is the time to have these conversations and to hold them accountable, hold their feet to the fire. Stop accepting the bare minimum as like, I saw earlier, none of the conservative MPs are going to be attending, Davos this week. Wow, you did the bare minimum. Good for you. We've got substantially further to go than that. And there's not going to be an election soon. It may not be this year, maybe not even next. We've got time. And now is the time to, separate the wheat from the chaff and make sure if you have someone like this in your area, that whoever it is that represents you, whoever it is you're supposed to be supporting in your, local, provincial parliament, federal, whatever it is, to hold them accountable. Listen, like these are not good times we're entering. We're looking at potentially a war with the Russian Federation, maybe that's on the table. We've got tremendous economic pain that's incoming. Never mind that the implosion of the healthcare system that we're dealing with. This isn't the time to be wishy-washy. I'm just going to mail it in. We need strong, capable leaders that have your back and are willing to go down fighting if they have to. And if you put them to the test and they don't pass, you are not obligated to support them. So this either like, if it's like you're not with us and you're supporting, the liberals. No. That's this attitude is how it's got us here. Vote for the lesser of two evils. No. I demand no evil. I demand someone with some gusto and some spine, and who isn't afraid to fight.
And speaking of evil, we have a news media, industry that is complicit in this evil. They promote this type of evil. And part of the strategy of this so-called opposition party is essentially just to listen to the media. And this is one comment from Sean here. Sorry to single you out, Sean, but I completely disagree with this. I understand your frustration with the CPC, but in order to get elected, you need to have the media, including the MSM, on your side or not against you. False. That is not true. We saw that south of the states. Right. Trump got elected, and the media hated him. They were polling 98% chance for Hillary to win.
Yeah, again, this mindset is, well, we have to make the media happy to get elected. That means you're placing the media in the hierarchy of power is above you. It's above the own people you're voting for. The media will decide if you are worthy to sit in the chair or not. That's crazy and insane. And especially considering what the media has done the last couple of years. The gaslighting, the like, here's why you shouldn't invite your family over for Thanksgiving. Here's why you should ostracize your own family during the holidays, the most depressing and stressful time of year. Maybe you should just not talk to them. Maybe you should just hope that they kill themselves in their basement. Yes, we need the moral okay from those people. Absolutely not. Not in a minute. No, Sean. No, sir. Sorry.
Exactly. We need the opposition fearing the people, guys. Yeah. And we don't need it fearing the media. That is the solution to stimulate that conversation, popularize this conversation, talk amongst your peers, and eventually get to the point where we can go out to whether it's the office of the MP or whether it's, the public events and apply pressure, get them fearing us. And you'll notice whenever that happens in the media, oh, Jagmeet Singh got yelled at, or this other politician got yelled at. The media says the same thing. And even the opposition says the same thing. Don't do that, guys. Don't get upset. Don't get morally outraged. Don't voice your moral outrage. This is about self-respect, guys. Like, this is honestly about self-respect. We are making this show to encourage you guys to respect yourselves. And like Jeremy said last week, it's okay to demand higher standards in this country. Any last words before we go, Jeremy?
Like they want you to just let us punch you in the face. And if you say, hey, stop that, or even raise a fist to me, that's unacceptable. Only I may do that. Only I may gaslight. They'll attack someone like me and say you're inciting hatred and with your platform. But we can go on TV and suggest that we're going to other millions of our own citizens and suggest that maybe you should be barred from grocery stores and what's to be done with you and that kind of thing. They react to these things because they're weak. They're narcissistic, self-interested people, and they respond to these kinds of. They hate it. They're terrified. That's why I don't like rage. I don't like the signs, because it's going to be pointed at you next. They don't like being confronted and be held accountable. It scares them. It reminds me of when I see that, it reminds me of a clip from a great, amazing movie I love. I've always loved. It's called Cinderella Man. Have you seen that one with Russell Crowe? It's the story of James Braddock, a boxer from the Depression era. Yep. And towards the end of the movie, he's going into the fight with broken ribs that have just recently healed, and the other guy he's fighting, he just digs him with a left hook to the broken rib, and there's a wince and a flinch there, and the other guy goes, oh, is that the right spot, Jimmy? And then in come a few more. So when I see that, I see, that's a weak spot. They don't like that. Do more of that. Get in their face and hold them accountable and say, hey, asshole, what are you doing in my country? Can you explain this? They really don't like it. When the finance minister was confronted in that, the hospital, wherever she was, the guy used foul language. He was angry, all whatever. He didn't threaten her. He didn't throw things at her. He didn't say, I'm going to... He just stood his ground and said, F you. You scumbag. I know what you're doing, and I hate your guts. And as is well within his right to do that. And they all, from all spectrums, would, no, boo, shame, don't do that, because that could be them next. I think more of that.
Look at the left. Look at the success of the Liberal Party. Moral outrage works. And numbers
they can shame you, but you can't shame them.
Exactly. So we need to start doing that on our side of the aisle, and we cannot be complicit with this weak Conservative Party of Canada. But that's going to do it for us on the show. Tune in next week for Controlled Opposition, and check out last week's episode if you did not see it. For everything Jeremy Mackenzie, people can go to ragingdissident.com. Is that the best place to go, Jeremy?
I wouldn't recommend it. You will be on a watch list. The police will come to your house. But yes, if that sounds like it's exciting and your life needs to be, dangerous. I'm mostly kidding. RagingDissident.com has all the links to everything that I waste my time doing, and yeah, that's all. That's it.
Thank you so much for being here, Jeremy Mackenzie. We'll see you next week, and it is okay to demand higher standards. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.